sports this year. And what do you do on the chairlift besides chat with your buddies, think about your next round, bask in the general awesomeness of skiing? You think about what you ask? I'll tell you what. You think about stuff.
So, anything interesting happened at school this week?
Well, I have a bunch of uninteresting things. I was reading a lot about how we're in the middle of a 6th major extinction event.
Huh. Got any good news stuff?
I did get an 88% on my science test.
Well, that's good.
Maybe write a letter that you can read to him?
Yeah, I first met Sam last summer after he wrote me a letter telling me that he's a big skier and that he's also really worried about climate change. He was looking for some advice on what he could do about it. As a professional skier and ambassador for Protect Our Winters Canada, it's not that uncommon for me to get messages like that. But this was the first time I'd received one from a 13-year-old, and also someone so gravely concerned about the future.
Yeah, I'd say it got pretty bad, to the point where I was constantly depressed, not able to sleep at night.
Story time at bed, this stuff would come out, the tears, the fears, all this stuff expressing himself.
I was pretty worried about him for a while because he would get really upset and start telling me all these things and concerned that the world was ending and that nobody was doing anything. And I would try and tell him what was going on, the things that people were doing, but he didn't quite buy into it and believe it. And so at one point, I kind of said, okay, well, what can you do about it?
The more I got to know Sam, the more he reminded me of myself when I was that age. And it kind of got me thinking, if I could go back, what would I tell my 13-year-old self knowing what I know now? As winter approached, I suggested that we try to ski together once a week and talk about skiing and climate change and just stuff. I wanted to see if I could pass along some of the lessons that I've learned through my experience to help him ease some of his fears and just get into a better headspace. Before the chairlift started turning, I asked Sam to set some goals for the winter, both on the skiing side and on the climate side. If this thing was gonna work, we needed something to aim for.
Yeah, the goals I have for this season, I really want a 360 because I can't do it yet and all my friends can do it. Another thing that I want to get more confident on at least is skiing steep stuff, because if I think about it for too long, I generally tend to chicken out. We have a school project where we're meant to create a social change. So I was thinking we could do a climate march in Pemberton for that project. I think a good final goal is to ski something pretty gnarly, maybe something like DOA, something like that. DOA is this big chute off the peak of Blackcomb. I think it's about, I don't know, how wide is it?
DOA is this rock-lined couloir that comes off the summit of Blackcomb Mountain. It's about an hour's hike above the resort, and it's narrow and steep, and I don't think very many 13-year-olds have ever skied it. Unlike Sam, I didn't grow up thinking about climate change. I've never considered myself an environmentalist or an activist. I'm a skier. My whole life has been viewed through the lens of this sport. Everything I know about climate change and the environment has been validated through travel and time in the mountains. And I think that's given me a perspective on things that probably not too many people have. I've been worried about climate change for a while now. For many years, I thought the government was going to do something about it, but here we are. My success in skiing has given me a platform. It's not a huge one, but it's a platform nevertheless. A few years ago, I got fed up with the lack of action I saw being taken on the climate crisis, and I thought, I want to use my platform to try and make some positive change. Hope requires action. If not us, then who? And if not now, then when? Before we got to work on Sam's goals, I wanted to take him to the spot where I first saw climate change happening, the Horseman Glacier on Blackcomb Mountain. Back when I started, back in 1988, this whole bowl here was full. It's almost like you'd fill up a cup of milk. There were no rocks to be seen over there, just the very biggest rocks you see, but nothing over there. This whole zone down here. Back in the early 90s, I was training on the Horseman Glacier pretty much every day, all summer long. And I always used to stash my backpack behind this rock over on kind of the side of our ski lane. And for the first few years, I'd just ski up, grab my pack, take off for the day. And then one year I noticed that we couldn't ski to the rock anymore. And then a couple years later, it was a 10 or 15 foot walk up into the rock. And then a few years after that, the rock was 30 meters up the slope. And around that same time, this thing called global warming was starting to be talked about more and more in the news. And, I kind of put two and two together and I was like, this concept, this idea of this huge global problem wasn't abstract to me at all at that point. It was real and it was happening right in front of my eyes. The point of taking Sam up there to show him the glacier wasn't to scare him, but I wanted to show him how climate change is affecting our own backyard. I think a lot of people look at climate change as this massive problem that's kind of overwhelming to even think about. But if you can break it down and see how it's affecting where you live and it becomes tangible, I think that makes people more willing to try and do something about it. The most important thing right off the top is the pop, okay? Step by step here. Knees flex forward, hands in front, pop up, off your toes. All right, I like it. Give me one more. I think the first trick every kid wants to learn is a 360. When I was a kid, I definitely went about it the hard way. I picked a jump that was way too big, I had no one helping me out, and I would just crash over and over. But each time I learned just a little bit more and I eventually figured it out. Unlike Sam, I had no formal ski training growing up. I was a just send it kid. When I moved to Whistler, I started competing in mogul skiing and actually did surprisingly well and eventually made the Canadian mogul team. Before I knew it, I had my sights set on the 1994 Olympics in Lillehammer, Norway. It was a huge goal and I was all in, but when the results didn't come in the Olympic trials, I ended up missing the team by one spot. It was a blow after you put so much of yourself into something, but in 1995, I started coaching, and I can confidently say that my failure as a competitive skier made me a better coach and ultimately a better skier. Up and over the shoulder, okay? Keep everything moving as a unit. When it comes to building a sustainable future, I feel like we're too slow to adapt, or we just keep going back and making the same old mistakes that got us into this mess. We're not always going to get it right on the first time, but each time we fail, we need to adapt and learn from our mistakes and try again. We'll eventually get there.
Got it.
This is the Crystal Ridge Burn Forest, and I remember the day that this thing burned. It was the summer before the 2010 Olympics, and I got a call from a friend saying there's been a lightning strike on Crystal Ridge and the whole thing is burning, and it's kind of crazy. They brought in all these water bombers and everything because it was right before the Olympics, and obviously they didn't want Whistler to burn down. It was the start of the worst fire season that I'd ever seen in this valley, and once again was sort of reinforcing everything that the scientists said would happen. It was like the baseline for climate change had just shifted up a few notches in urgency. I mean, it's one thing to have your glacier melt away and you won't be able to ski. It's a whole other thing when you feel that your community and your own home is threatened by wildfire. It definitely made the whole thing more real for me. Since then, it feels like fire and smoke have become a normal part of summer here in BC, and record-breaking heat waves are becoming more common as well. I don't have any recollection of anything like this happening when I was a kid.
I think I kind of knew who Mike was. It was just information that just kind of sat in the back of my head for a while. I knew that he basically invented the twin tip ski. He was a big free ride guy.
It took a couple years to get over my Olympic disappointment, and just as I was sort of getting to a better place, the sport of skiing and mogul skiing in particular started to struggle. The culprit was snowboarding. Snowboarding exploded onto the scene with all this energy and enthusiasm, and I thought it was cool, but I was a skier. I was still involved in the sport as a coach and a mogul skiing personality, but in 1997, I got a call from my main sponsor saying that the mogul program was being cut and my contract wouldn't be renewed. I was devastated. Around the same time, a few friends and I started trying to do snowboard style tricks on skis, and we started gaining a lot of attention from it. I knew that if I was going to keep my pro ski career dream alive, that I needed to land a new sponsor by the start of winter. So we came up with an idea for a twin tip ski, something that you could jump on and land backwards and take off backwards, and something that really didn't exist in skiing at that time. We shopped the idea around to the top 9 ski brands out there, and the reaction wasn't at all what I expected. Guys were like, "You guys don't know what you're talking about. This'll never work. You don't get how the ski industry works." Skiing was an old boys club back then, and those guys were afraid of change. They didn't like change. And it reminds me so much of what we see in the climate movement right now. There's all these naysayers telling us why all these ideas will never work. In the end, right as I was about to give up, a couple of guys from Salomon called me up and said they believed in our vision and they wanted to try and make it happen. 2 months later, we had a prototype ski, and 4 months after that, the Salomon 1080 hit store shelves. It was a hit. We'd go on to become one of the best-selling skis of all time. What started as the hardest thing I'd ever faced in my ski career quickly became my biggest opportunity. My ski career blew up after that, and everything seemed possible. I keep coming back to this story anytime I get down about climate. It is possible to fix this. It just takes enough of the right people to see the opportunity ahead.
Dear Miss Aldcroft and Mr. Evans, Fridays for Future is coming up on March 19th. This year, though, we can't have an in-person gathering, so this is what I want to do in the school. The town council is currently making a climate change action for the village of Pemberton. As the youth of Pemberton and the future of this town, we are all stakeholders in the climate change action plan and want to make sure our voices are heard.
The idea of organizing a march for him was like, oh, it's gonna be great. It's like a party, like, come on down, let's march. We'll, yell some stuff out and we'll have some banners and it'll be really great and we'll inspire a lot of people. I'm really proud of him. And then there's the other side where I worry that not worry, but I just pay attention to the fact that it's a lot for a 13-year-old to take this on, and to take this on kind of on his own. I want him to be a goof and have fun and be a kid too, and not have to stress about these things. But at the same time, I have a great respect for him, that he feels it's so important that he's putting the time and energy into it as well, and making it a deal, and not letting people forget that it's an issue we need to pay attention to now. So.
Tell me about what's going on at school.
So with my climate action plan, right now we are at the stage where we have the suggestion box out by the office. Some people have gone and put things in there, I've seen. It's definitely been a bit of a challenge, but I think I'm handling it fairly well.
Well, what's been challenging?
It's just been challenging a bit mentally, you know? Like, it's the first time I've ever done really something big like this so far. And I'm kind of planning it on my own and everything, so it's just kind of an awkward feeling for me to kind of be doing it.
Is it kind of scary?
Yeah, but
There's a dark side to everything, and it's okay to be scared. My ski career was amazing, but about 10 years into it, I started to notice a disturbing trend. I was losing friends to the mountains. It has an effect on you. You wonder, how would I be remembered? As a father of two, I was sort of questioning whether I was making the world a better place or not for my kids. And I honestly couldn't come up with a clear answer. But I did know that I could do more. So Sam, one of the reasons I wanted to bring you touring up to this old growth forest is this is one of the last ones here in our backyard that has these huge trees in it. The government released a report this past year that said that there's only 23% of old growth forest left in BC. So we've logged 77% of it, which is kind of shocking. But what's even more shocking is that most of those are kind of scrubby high alpine forests, so ones that don't hold big trees like this. Only 3% of the old growth forest left is these kind of big trees.
and it's also a really small percentage that's actually protected, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's some parks and stuff like that, but we are logging this old growth still, and there's so little of it left. These are giant carbon sinks. A forest like this holds twice as much accumulated carbon as a second growth forest. Right. Not exactly good ski terrain, is it?
Nope.
This is about 50-year-old second growth. And as you can see, it's a very different forest than what we had in the old growth a little higher up the mountain. And here's the thing, there's a much longer growing season down here. So these trees should technically be bigger and healthier, but you can see the second growth, it doesn't quite come in the same way.
Yeah.
It's not as healthy or diverse of an ecosystem. And not only that, but as we're seeing a massive increase in wildfires in the Western North America, forests like this are part of the problem. The more I learned about climate change and how our environment is being threatened, the more I would see, especially here at home. But I didn't really know what to do about it until I discovered Protect Our Winters. It was the first environmental organization that I could see myself in. It was founded by snowboarders and skiers and outdoors people, and they were seeing the same things that I was seeing. We were speaking the same language. Once I became an active member and started working with the others, I started to feel real hope for the future. POW is trying to make things better, and the momentum seems to be building. We're trying to show outdoors people how climate affects where they live and where they play, and also give them solutions to, what they can do about it. I think people need that real, tangible element to grasp something as abstract as climate change. Since getting involved, I've learned that cooperation is key, and there's power in numbers. 50 people working as a group can accomplish far more than 500 people working as individuals. The suggestion box. This is exciting.
Yep, we put it in the front entry hall of the school maybe like 2 weeks ago. And it's got some good stuff in it. So this one says, lowering food waste, switch to green power, no idling rule, A couple people said dispose of fridges properly. Is that?
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
This one says have incentive-based programs to inspire more locally grown produce or have a system to get more people to buy local. More electric car charging stations. Encourage the use of paper or reusable bags. More frequent buses that are useful for students.
I'm pretty impressed. I can't believe how many suggestions you got in your box.
I'm surprised no one wrote anything like really stupid either.
Yeah, me too. I guess the kids here are smarter than we thought.
Yeah, Sam, you got it, buddy!
The youth has always inspired me, whether it's on skis or in the climate movement. The older generation loves to write the kids off. But I tell you, when I went and marched in the Fridays for Future climate strikes back in 2019, they were being led by teens. I felt so much energy and so much hope. It was the first time where I really felt like the climate movement was reaching that tipping point. COVID has taken a little bit of wind out of those sails, but just when I started to sort of feel down about it, Sam came in and kind of like filled those sails up again. And he's given me that burst of energy because the reality is it's a tough subject and you're looking for those little wins and those little boosts of inspiration and you hold on to them with all you've got. But Sam's bringing it and it feels good.
That's it, buddy. Look forward. Look forward. Eyes up. Look forward. That's it.
The biggest mistake I see skiers make of all levels, even some pros, is that they're not looking far enough forward. Okay, you want to have your eyes up and looking far down the hill. Because the thing is, when people start looking down, the terrain starts coming at you way too fast.
Yeah.
And then all you're trying to do is just deal with everything that's in front of you and you're kind of in a panic the whole time, right? It's like driving down the road and you're looking at the white line, the dotted line. If you're looking right in front of your car, it's going whip, 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 whip. But if you look far out in front, that line slows down. So if you look forward enough, it gives you a chance to see the obstacles far away, and then you can react and make the appropriate adjustments.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah.
All right, buddy, let's do it. It's the perfect metaphor for climate as well. We are so focused on what's happening directly in front of us that we don't see what's coming out far ahead. Whether it's paying your bills each month or the quarterly earnings cycle or an election cycle, humans are incredibly short-sighted. If we are gonna go ski DOA this spring, then we've got to get you brushed up on your steep skiing technique. One of Sam's goals for the season was to get more confident skiing the steeps. This is pretty much mandatory if he's gonna attempt his big goal of skiing DOA. But even the path to skiing a big line like that starts with a single turn.
Okay.
I don't think that was how I'm supposed to do it.
That's it. Head, yeah, that was better. Head looking down the hill. Let's keep it going here. Okay, you jumped too much, all right?
All right.
Remember, get on that uphill. That'll let you pivot around quicker. Okay. That was it. Okay, give us another one of those. Okay, watch those arms.
All right.
Falling back. Okay, one more and then we're...
Despite some frustrations along the way, he kept at it, and before we knew it, he was ripping the steepest and narrowest lines on the mountain.
Look where you're going. That's it.
I feel like every time something comes together for him, there's just that little bit of weight that's lifted off his shoulders, and the more he was putting in, the more he seemed to be getting out, and I could just feel that confidence building in him.
Where do we want it? Get it by any means, I gotta come up. I'm trying to live life every day like the summer. They try to test me, I'm on number, but I won't lose no more, and that's a promise. They say that
COVID protocols didn't allow Sam to fully realize his climate march dreams, but he didn't let that get him down. And even the sight of just 6 kids marching through the village of Pemberton was enough to turn some heads.
Hello.
Hi, Sam.
On behalf of the student body of PSS, we would like to give you this petition. We would like to see action on things like making public transportation cheaper, making sure that no old-growth forest is logged within the community forest, launching an educational campaign to try to get people to eat more local food, buy more local stuff.
For the past few months, Sam and I have been skiing together and talking about climate action. As encouraged as I am by the drive and leadership shown by this young man, I'm also saddened. Sam's a kid. The fact that he is standing here today is a sign that we, as adults, have failed him and his generation. But this is not a time to hang our heads in shame. What's done is done, and we cannot go back and rewrite the past. The future, however, is a different story. We applaud your efforts on the Pemberton Community Climate Action Plan. Those of us standing here today are not your enemy. Rather, we are your greatest supporters, and we are here to encourage you to take the most ambitious path. It's time to lead by example and inspire the world. Thank you.
This is awesome. Having you come to us and make this conversation happen is so key. So again, thanks to all of you.
I'm so proud of Sam. He did a great job and it all came together. I just keep having to remind myself that he's only 13.
After that day, he definitely felt lighter and energized from it, I think. He still has concerns, he still educates himself, and he still wants to come up with things to do, but it's not in such a doom and gloom kind of way anymore. It's more with, okay, this is the problem, and how are we going to approach it, and how are we going to have our say about it?
And you see him become more comfortable, and how he started with just little changes, and they realizing they can make a difference, and people will hear and listen. And I think that was just the whole great transformation to watch throughout the winter with him.
With just days left in the season and still on a high from his climate march, I felt like Sam was ready to take on his final goal of skiing DOA. All right, Sam, let's do beacon check here. So you're gonna just walk past me slowly. There we go, you're good, buddy. We gotcha. When I was 16, I sent a letter to ski filmmaker Greg Stump. It was kind of a scary thing to do. I mean, Greg was a rock star to me. He was the one making the films that fueled my daydreams and eventually led me to decide to pursue a life on snow. I told Greg I was a huge fan, and if he ever needed a skier to be in one of his films up in British Columbia, I would be honored. It was the first time I'd really put myself out there, and I never really believed that he would take the time to write back to me, and even if he did, I think in the back of my mind I was like, oh, he's probably gonna make fun of me or call me a stupid kid or something. But a few months later, a letter arrived in the mail from Greg Stump. And Greg said thanks for the letter and let me know that he was working on a new film called The Blizzard of Oz, and he was happy with his skiers, but if he ever needed some more talent, that he'd keep me in mind. I was on cloud nine. It was the first time that I'd ever made a connection with one of my ski heroes, and it changed my life. That letter and the reply gave me the confidence to pursue my dreams. Less than 2 years later, I moved to Whistler, and 8 years after that, I ended up skiing in one of Greg's films. Yeah, Sam? Yeah! On the top, buddy! To be able to pay that forward to Sam, it feels really good. Gonna ski DOA. Let's do this. All right. Yeah, Sam. This is it, bud. They say the mountain is the top. Okay. Short hop turns like we know how to do.
Yeah, we started at the bottom with no option but to go up. You know what hurt is when you growing up with no love. When you knew how to die before you learn to hug. When you fall in the street or you pulled a gun and let off.
You got it, man. That's it.
Right. Now I'm rolling through the city, living at the top of my world. Living at the top of my world. Waking up to new views in the morning, up under my girl. Yeah. This is what it feel like. This is what it look like. When you see it from the top, this is what it sound like. When it came from the heart, that could have died on the block.
If you never put yourself out there and take a chance, then you'll never know what's possible. Sam took a chance by reaching out to me, and he's put himself out there for the entire future of his generation.
Put it there, you did it! Yeah! DOA, there she is!
Sam came to me looking for help finding hope for the future. And I feel pretty confident in saying that he's in a better headspace now than he was when I first met him. But I don't think he realizes that I am too.
They was looking at me like I never be nothing, but I already knew now. Pulling up in something cool, popping out so fresh like, looking brand new. This is what it look like. This is what it do.